So good morning and welcome to the Evident Proof demo. My name is Ian Taylor and we run these demos twice weekly around 10 a.m. on a Tuesday and 4 p.m. on a Thursday London time with the purpose of the demo is to give you an overview of what Evident Proof service is, how it works, and what I'll also do is run through a sample workflow from one of our clients looking at how they use the Evident Proof system to store their data immutably. So what is Evident Proof? Evident Proof is an enterprise platform for storing immutable proof of evidence. Now, what does that mean and why would this be important to a business? So the platform itself works in a certain way. Now, we take a hash of your data structure, and what we do is we convert that into something called a SIL, which can be stored in an immutable way on a technology called the blockchain. Now, the blockchain has some unique properties as it stores data in a decentralized, distributed way across thousands of computers, meaning that the data is stored in a way where it's basically unhackable. Now, storing data in a mutable way means that it can't be changed, it can't be tampered, and it can't be hacked. So because of the way the Evident Proof service stores your data, what you could do is you could use that data later down the line to present it in a court of law, maybe in a situation where you've been challenged on an audit or a compliance scenario, and maybe a patent scenario too. And what we could do is give you proof of your evidence. So we have a number of clients using the system today, and one of them is the largest supplier of government taxi licensing solutions to the UK government. Effectively, their line of business solution deals with the checks, the balances around the governance of issuing a taxi license. So why would they need to store data in an immutable way? So earlier this year, there were a number of articles in the press which stated that the last year alone, there were 150,000 taxi licenses were issued to drivers, some of which had criminal convictions, drink driving bans, and any number of misdemeanors. Now, at this point, there's a real burden of proof on the company and, more importantly, the local government to prove that they carried out these checks and balances and that the results that they're presenting weren't somehow falsified if somebody had gained access to their data and changed that data. So using the Evident Proof service, they're able to prove that these checks and balances have been made in a certain way in a certain time, and that data hasn't been tampered with. Now, the line of business application that the taxi licensing software is quite a large process, capturing many documents. But what we've done is created a trimmed down version in a standalone demo, which effectively just shows how our clients are using the system to pass data through to the Evident Proof service. And in this scenario, I'm going to go through the process of creating a taxi license and show you how that would work on the Evident Proof platform. So as you can see, this is the Evident Proof platform itself, and this is the line of application that I'm going to create the taxi license on. So in this scenario, this could realistically be your line of business application that you're currently using. It could be your online Salesforce data. It could be anything that you're currently storing your data in your database with. So really, this is just an interface to show you how the data would pass between here and to the Evident Proof platform and then be made immutable and stored on the blockchain, so you could take that and present that at a later point. So what I'm going to do quickly is create a taxi license. I'm going to make the license active. I'm also going to confirm that I've carried out a criminal record check. Now, again, in this scenario, there could be hundreds of pieces of data or documents behind this particular check that I need to perform in order to be compliant. And all of this data could also be stored through the Evident Proof platform and hashed and then made immutable. So again, you could access that data later down the line if anybody challenged the integrity of that data. So I'm going to put in a fictitious license, and again, identity check performed. Now this could be a number of checks that I've had. It could be a third-party platform that I'm using that's captured that data, that again, once that's been captured, I could save this and push this through to the Evident Proof platform. So I'm now going to create this taxi license. And once that's complete, as you can see here, Harry James has now been created, and the data's sent to the evident proof system, and now it's being converted into a proof seal that is then sent off to the blockchain network, where it can be stored in a distributed way, and then we can show you this data being recalled and proving to be immutable. So if we go in here quickly, we can now see that we created a new license today. We can now look at that data. So the proof seal itself is where this data has been sent to the evident proof platform programmatically by the REST API. And then what we'll do is look at the record that's been sent to the evident proof platform. So let's have a look. This is what we're looking at now. Let's have a little bit more of a dig into what we're actually looking at here. So we've got a dispatch ID. So essentially, this ID is an API call into the service, and it's a dispatch of the evidence of the data records that are being sent to the evidence proof service. So it's really your record to understand that this has been dispatched. You've then got the evidence itself. The evidence itself is structured in a way that is a fixed schema, and this is the way we would have worked with you to present your data to us. So this fixed schema ensures that it can correlate between the evidence and the proof still stored on the blockchain. We've got the where and the when. Now, the where could be an IP address, a geolocation, and the when is obviously a critical part, because this is the timestamp that will then be recorded on the blockchain and stored immutably. So you can prove that this event happened, this data was submitted at a certain point in time. And then we've got the PSU reference. So this is the cross reference, and this is a key that relates back to your data or line of business application. Now, this data could really be a single key or a compound key or an ID key or an asset. This is whatever you need it to correlate back to your source data. So we've also got the key and the value, which will obviously be quite familiar to any software developers as a way of storing evidence. And in this scenario, as you can see, we're only storing a single key. In fact, a dispatch could store many pieces of evidence, and these can be forms of documents. So we've also got the JSON value here. So as you can see, this is a representation of the forms data, and this could be a single field, multiple fields, or a form. It could be, the English dictionary if you needed it to be. Finally, we've got the proof seal. This is a hash of all the data effectively. And what the proof seal is used for is for checksum verification of this data. Now, none of your data is revealed within this seal, but it just proves your data. So we've got a receipt, and the receipt is a return to you by the API call. And effectively, the receipt is your method of saying that this data has been immutably stored on the evident proof platform through the blockchain. And this is also a key where you could receipt ID, where you could sort of navigate back to the data on the evident proof platform as well. So at this point here, as you can see, we've got the proof certificate. Now, the proof certificate is literally a document that pulls together all of the information that we've discussed, and you could present this in a court of law, and it would confirm that the data was stored through the evident proof platform to the blockchain in a certain way. So let's assume a scenario in a year down the line, somebody is coming back to challenge me to say that these checks that I've done through my compliance process weren't done in a certain way, and now I can prove to them by grabbing the data through the proof certificate to show that this data was collected and stored through the evident proof platform in a certain way, and I can then create a proof certificate. So at this point, when we create a proof certificate, what happens is we put out a request, and this goes off to the blockchain and checks the data and the seal, then finally checks that it matches our source data. So if we click on the certificate here, as you can see, all of this information is very familiar, but what we do have now is a transaction ID, which is a key that verifies that all of the data that we've had has been stored through the blockchain in an immutable way, and it proves our taxi license data example that we've just run through. So what we've seen here is really quite a basic structure. We work with companies to understand their governance, their data process, and how they're currently storing data, and how that could very simply be pushed through to the Evident Proof platform and stored immutably. Everything you see is fully customizable, and that's something that would work with you to do as we set up new clients. We run through a very strict process of understanding what part of their data they need to make immutable, just in case they need to present this later on down the road in a court of law. So essentially, that's the Evident Proof platform. If you've got any questions, please put them over on Telegram. Otherwise, we'll catch up with you on another demo next Thursday at 4 p.m. Thank you.